Hello, everybody. Welcome in. We got another episode of Real Sports Talk with T. Will. I'm your host, T. Will. We'll be talking about a few things today. Um, if you've been paying attention to my content, we talked about the game that happened last night. And I did pick Ole Miss to win the game, but like I said, I'll come back and admit, yep, I was wrong. They lost. But as we talk about this, we got to talk about one thing that I have a question for. And I have a question about. It's this right here. When you look before he gets into the end zone, after he gets into the end zone, that looks like pass interference to me. Now, everybody will say, oh my God, it's the end of the game, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Pass interference is pass interference. There's a lot of missed calls this game. A lot of calls that, in my opinion, shouldn't be called, especially the targeting. The targeting needs to be removed from the game, period. Now, if you want to call a personal foul, no problem with that. I'd rather have a personal foul and not take the player out of the game. But unless it was a hit like years ago when Antonio Brown was going across the middle against, I think it was the Cincinnati Bengals, and they just tried to take his head off. Now that's completely different. Antonio Brown, I think his last name was Perfect or Perfect, something like that. If it ain't a hit as egregious as that, some plays in football, especially the first targeting call, the guys just ran into each other. Like he was looking at the ball, the other guy was looking at the ball, and then it was like, bam, they hit each other. So when you look at it from that standpoint, some contact is accidental, but at some other times, it's just you can't avoid it. Sometimes a helmet is going to touch a helmet, unless a guy is like doing a Superman trying to fly and like spear somebody. Other than that, it's not really, worth kicking the kid out of the game. Now that kid from Miami, he will be missing the first half of the second of the national championship, which sucks, but it is what it is. But I'm not complaining about this call at the end of the game not being called, but I'm saying, is this pass interference or not? It's a simple question, yes or no. And if you look at the guy's arm and you look at how he's grabbing him, he has no chance to make a play on the ball because he's literally pinning him down, like tackling him already before the ball even gets there. So it's a decision for you to make. Anyways, the score of the game ended up being 31-27. Um, it was kind of sloppy in the beginning. It got kind of, better in the second half. But I think Miami was more physical. Their offensive line was road grading. Their defensive line was blowing up their offensive line. I thought Chambliss was kind of like off of rhythm, off of schedule because of the pressure that they got to the quarterback. But um, it's ridiculous that you would go through a whole playoffs and be playing well on offense, and then you get to a game against Miami, one game before the national championship, and you kind of fall off of that rhythm. And I know there's been a lot of people complaining about the coaches going back and forth and who's there, who's not there. They had the former LSU intern coach. He was on the sidelines. Like he was just coaching LSU. So it was very interesting. The game could have went either way. But one thing I will say, even though that call at the end of the game wasn't called, Chambliss had about 3 passes that he threw that could have been pick sixes or even just picks right out because he threw the ball, he didn't see the guy, and he could have got picked off. So I thought that was very interesting. But there was a lot of drop balls on both sides. Maybe those guys were nervous, being on that stage, knowing that they're so close, and if they don't win, their season is over. But both teams should be proud. Congratulations to Miami. I was wrong. I picked Ole Miss, and we'll see what happens for them in the national championship game, and who's going to play them next. Next up, Mike McDaniel's been talked about a lot ever since he's recently just lost his job um, in Miami, and a lot of people don't like him because he, you know, has a different way of coaching, I would say. A lot of people don't like him because he wears sunglasses or he got the half cut off pants and he's all cool with the rolling on the sideline. But one thing about Mike McDaniel is that he's proven that he can run an offense and the offense can be effective. Um, and he is one of the coaches that I think when you talk about people say this guy has an offensive mind, he actually proves it on the field. Now, you could say if Miami had a little bit better defense, maybe they won a few more games. You know, maybe if Tyreek Hill doesn't go down, maybe they win a few more games. You never know. Maybe they could be a wild card team. Who knows? But just to write this guy off because he's like a nerdy, cool guy or whatever, whoever somebody is shouldn't affect how good they are at their job. If you don't want to hire this guy because you don't like him or you don't like because he has on shades, and he got his sleeves pulled up and he got the short pants on, that may not be your style. The thing about people in society and what makes everything great is that everybody is not the same. Now, if everybody was on the sideline wearing a suit and tie, is that interesting? No, it's not. If everybody's doing the status quo, I'm just here to do my job, blah, 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 blah. Don't nobody want to hear that crap. We want to hear the real. Talk your ish. Say the truth. Be you authentically, you know? But to knock this guy down and say he's not, head coach worthy or this or that, I'm not buying it. He was with Kyle Shanahan and them, you know. Like this guy knows offense. He used to be the guy that used to study the tape. Now you ask me a question: would you want to have a guy that just is a CEO and thinks that he has a tough guy attitude and everybody in the media is impressed with him, or you want a guy to run your offense that actually earned his living off of watching tape and offensive analytics? I think I would want the guy that's been studying the game and he's actually in there. He's actually drawing up the plays. He's actually sharing his mind with other offensive coaches. Um, I just don't think that you could just judge him off of this one job stint. If he becomes the Lions offensive coordinator, that's good for him. If he gets another offensive head coaching job, that's good for him as well. But I don't think you should write somebody off because they wear sunglasses and they don't dress how you want them to dress, and you don't like their attitude or whatever. Like that has nothing with the results that are on the football field. And when he had a chance and he had a fully healthy team, he led the Dolphins to the playoffs. They just ran into the Chiefs on the road. That's what happens in football. Good teams win and good teams lose. So um, we're gonna wish the best for Mike McDaniel, and I don't think you should write somebody off just because their appearance on the outside. It's ridiculous. Next up, Harbaugh got fired earlier this week um, after 18 seasons in Baltimore. Um, this is, I believe, when him and his brother faced off each other in the Super Bowl, and this would be his one and only Super Bowl. I'm trying not to be rude about this when I say this, but when you peel back the curtains and the layers between these two guys right here, one of them is a team builder, and one of them is a team overseer. And what I mean by that is Jim Harbaugh builds his teams from the bottom up. From every situation he went to, he had to rebuild something. The thing about the Ravens that people don't really talk about is Harbaugh inherited like a great team in Baltimore. We're going to find out if he's really the coach that everybody believes him to be, or was he just an inheritant of a great organization and a great team? Because Harbaugh took over the 49ers when they was garbage. He took over the Chargers when they couldn't get over the hump and they wasn't a built ready team. When Harbaugh took over the Ravens, Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, like Nada, like they had everybody. And they had everybody. That team was like already ready to go. And this Super Bowl that he won was with the guys that was from the beginning from when he was there. Ray Lewis had like a fake arm, all them guys like that was the end of the Baltimore Ravens getting to the Super Bowl. Joe Flacco, all them. Like, if you really peel back the curtain on the Baltimore Ravens' success, I can't say 100% that I'm gonna give them credit for it and stuff like that. But if it was Brian Billick, I think I would feel different. But he inherited a team that was essentially already good. You know, um, I'm trying to look and see exactly, when John Harbaugh exactly got hired on the day and what roster um, he had on opening day. So it says John Harbaugh started coaching the Baltimore Ravens in 2008 after being hired on January 19th, 2008 to replace Brian Billick. Now, a lot of people have their mixed feelings about Brian Billick, but I believe Brian Billick was a really, really good coach. Really, really good coach. Um, and let's just look at what John Harbaugh inherited. 2008 roster. Well, let's see here, guys. The 2008 Baltimore Ravens roster. His first season, Willie Anderson. The only one I'm not gonna count is Kyle Bowler because he was all right. But Prescott Burgess, Mark Clayton, Terrence Cooper, um, they had players like already there. Todd Heap, Ray Lewis, Derek Mason, Chris McAllister, Jameel McClain, LaRon McClain, Willis McGahee, Brandon McKinney, Lorenzo Neal, Haloti Nada. This is ridiculous. This is a team we started off with. Trevor Price, Ed Reed, Ray Rice, Samari Rowe. Like, this is not like Terrell Suggs. Like, listen to the people that he started off with on his team. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy. Marshall Yanda. Like, what? This is the team that he started off with. You know what I'm saying? Like, that ain't no sorry team. Like, just listen to the names that I named off again. Marshall Yander, and in whatever order you want to take it. Terrell Stuggs, Matt Stover, Trey Stallings. Let me see. Like Samari Rowe, Ray Rice, Ed Reed, Trevor Price. I'm not even naming everybody. Bart Scott, Haloti Nada. Haloti Nada is a beast. Brandon McKinney. LaRon McClain, Jamil McClain, Willis McGahee, Derek Mason, Ray Lewis, Corey Ivy. Like, I mean, this team that they got, Joe Flacco, like Mark Clayton, like this is insane. Willie Anderson, like just going. I can't even. I'm not even gonna name off all these names, but this is not your average starting roster. Is what I'm saying. We're gonna find out if John Harbaugh is the coach like his brother, because his brother did it. San Diego State, Stanford. Um, where do you go after Stanford? Stanford, San Francisco, 49ers. Then he left, went to Michigan, won a national championship, and now he's at LA Chargers doing the same thing. So if you want to argue, we can argue, but you can say Jim Harbaugh is proven to be that dude. Jim Harbaugh is that dude. Point blank, period. He's that dude. We gonna find out without having a startup ready Hall of Fame filled Baltimore Ravens roster. We will find out if he's really the guy everybody says he is. And that's all I got to say about that, because I just wanted everybody to think about it. Look at 2008 and look what roster that John Harbaugh started off with. That's all I'm going to say about that. Next up, we got the Indiana Hoosiers versus the Oregon Duckies. Now, in basketball, being a Michigan fan, we don't like Indiana anyway. Uh, and Oregon, even when they was in the Pac-12, nobody liked Oregon. Number one, everybody hated on Oregon because they had the best jerseys, this, that, you know, a whole bunch of different colorways and stuff like that. And we just didn't like them because we felt like they were spoiled and they got everything they wanted. Um, but putting that aside, we're going to find out how good these two quarterbacks are on the big stage, um, with all the hype surrounding these two guys. And I'm going in non-biased. I'm going to watch both of these guys very closely, and we're going to see what these guys got. Um, Meaning that Indiana won the first game in Eugene does not mean that Indiana will win this game tonight. So I'm going to go 27-20 Oregon Ducks, and Dante Moore leads the Ducks to a victory against Kurt Signetti, Fernando Mendoza, and the Indiana Hoosiers. I feel like Dan Lanning is a very good coach, even though he be saying some wild stuff. And I don't like how he went down on Coach Prime when he knew that he had the better team. But hey, it is what it is. We'll chalk that up. But this team, Oregon, is pissed off that they gave up the game at home. And I can guarantee you they're going to come out with that fire. They're going to come out with that energy. And the Oregon Ducks move on to face the University of Miami in the national championship game. And like I always say, I could be wrong, but I don't care. I'm picking the Oregon Ducks. If you don't like it, hey, you know what you can do. But it should be a very exciting football game. I cannot wait. Last night game was awesome. I'm hoping that tonight game is awesome. It's great to see other teams, new blood in the playoffs, and this goes to show you that a 14 playoff isn't always true. Look at the road that the University of Miami had to take to get to the championship game. Look at it. Look who they play. Look who they beat. Look who they play and look who they beat. And I will say this: forever and from now on, college football will always be different. It will always be different. Point blank, period. You won't see Alabama all the time. You're not going to see Georgia all the time. You're not going to see the same teams all the time. And that makes the sport great. You want to know why? Because there was a little kid somewhere in Indiana, and he said to himself, you know what? My team is never going to win because we always suck. NIL changed that. Now, if you're an Indiana fan, you can believe. Now, if you're a Purdue fan, you can believe. Now, and this might sound crazy. If you're a Northwestern fan, you can believe, like you actually feel like if you get the right people behind your organization, putting the money in a pot, you actually can get to this level. And if you would have asked me when I was younger, would you ever see Indiana football in the national championship game? I would have told you hell no. But here we are today. Times have changed, and we got Indiana one game away from the national championship game. But I will say this: the Oregon Ducks will win this game. Next up, I woke up today and I was thinking about teams and fans that had pro teams and then they lost their pro team. Um, and the first team I thought of was the Seattle Supersonics, and how it must feel to have the success with Gary Payton and Sean Kemp and all them, and then to get to draft Kevin Durant, and then all of a sudden your team is gone, and now it's in OKC, and now OKC is getting all the glory and all the attention, um, and they got their first championship last year. Just imagine if you're a Seattle Supersonics fan and you're thinking, "Damn, that's my team," and they gone. That's my team, and they gone. And I always just wonder, like, how do they, grow up rooting for a team your whole life, and then you lose that team. So I always just go back to, I wonder, is Seattle ever gonna get another chance to get another team? Like, are they gonna bring back an expansion team and they're gonna be the Supersonics or what? Because I feel like the Seattle Supersonics was a great team to watch in the past. I like their colors. They was at the Key Arena. You know, um, just Seattle. You got the the Mariners. You got the Seahawks. You should have an NBA team. Like, so, I just hope that they get their team back. And I feel for those fans, man, because just being a sports fan and seeing what OKC is doing now, as a Supersonics fan, you dream to see an NBA Finals championship, and OKC got it. And even though it used to be your franchise, it still isn't the same because it's not in your city. They have on different colors and they're in a different state. So, yeah, that was just one of my thoughts that I had this morning, just thinking about it. And another one I also had was this here: the St. Louis Rams. You know, the St. Louis Rams was the greatest show on turf. They had Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce, Akeem. They had Talib and all of them, Rocket Ismail. And then now you see them come back here to the Rams. And now you have to see this here. You have to see your team be gone and wondering, what if the team was still here? What if the team was still in St. Louis? That's where they won the first one. And then your team is gone, and now they're more successful. They're successful on a yearly basis, and your team is gone. And when you think about it, you go, dang, we got the Edwards Jones Dome, and it's just sitting there, and there's no Rams games being played, and it's just like your whole. I know people lost jobs. People probably business probably went down when they left St. Louis, and it's just sad to see this, man. But also, people always remind me, even though I was born in '86, that the Rams were in LA first. But me growing up as a kid, I only remember Rams being in St. Louis, even though I do know that they were in LA first. So, um, and I just wonder if St. Louis is ever going to get a team again. And the Rams seem to be being running their franchise very well lately, and that was just my thoughts on that, man. Just having the thoughts about the Rams moving from St. Louis back to LA, and the Seattle SuperSonics leaving and going to OKC and seeing OKC win a championship now. So that's all I got for y'all today. Um, Watch the game tonight. Enjoy the game tonight. If you like the content, hit the like button, share, subscribe, whatever you like to do. But thanks for taking your time out listening to the show, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.